Okay, guys, welcome back to the show, and I'm delighted to be joined by James from For the Love of Wrestling. I would say it's Europe's biggest, definitely wrestling convention at this point.
Hey, Morris.
Um, April 29th, April 30th in Manchester this year. James, pleasure to have you on the show, man.
No, nice to meet you, Morris. Finally, great to sort of be face to face, so to speak. Yeah, April 29th and 30th in Manchester at Bowlers Exhibition Centre. We're, as we were just talking about before we started recording, this is the first year it's going to be in Manchester. We previous two of shows have been in Liverpool, and we're really, really happy to be bringing this to the home of Monopoly events in Manchester this year.
Yeah, I've been to Manchester a couple of times for football games, and I've only been to London and I've been to Manchester in the UK. And I have to say, Manchester is just a million times better than London, in my opinion, just because of I find that you meet more local people in Manchester, and that's where the fun is. Whereas London, a bit like Dublin here in Ireland, it's all go, 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 and you meet different people, and it's hard to meet local people. But I find in Manchester, it's a really good spot, nice little rock scene there as well. Really enjoyed my time there. So
the people's
looking forward to it.
The people's capital, we like to refer to it as, and yeah, it's London's a bit too big, but whereas your northern towns is where you'll strangers will talk to each other on public transport in the north. That's something they don't do in the south. It's a bit of a running joke over here.
Yeah, it's the same here. Like Dublin, as I say, I was living there for a few years now. I'm back down the country in Kilkenny, and everyone says hello to everyone and that kind of thing. I know what you mean. So look, going into this year, like obviously the pandemic kind of affect a lot of things up, like for businesses and stuff. But how do you find that people's interests are coming into the convention this year? I found that when kind of lockdown lifted here, that there was a massive appetite for people to get out again, go to concerts, go to shows, go to this and that. Do you find that now in the lead up to this event as well?
Yeah, I think everybody just feels a little bit invigorated, and I think we've all had a little bit of a reality check in that. You know, I mean, it's not, people just take these things for granted. I mean, as you just mentioned there, I've been a season ticket holder at United for a long, long time, and you just get times you take it, and then not being able to go to the football at all. Sometimes football not even being on. During lockdown, I think people really, really started to appreciate what we didn't have at the time. So then coming out of that, the appetite for just events in general, I mean, good events and sports events and concerts and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, the last 12 months, it's been able to put the 12 to maybe 18 months, it's been putting these events back on again. I think our first event back after COVID was, it was either For Love or Horror, or it was maybe an 80s, 90s festival that happened in Manchester. Yeah, the appetite was huge. People just want to get out there and enjoy themselves again. And over the course of, what I will say is all the Monopoly events that are being put on, they were brilliant before COVID, but they just seem to be going through, Monopoly now just seems to be almost like the market leader in the UK, if not Europe, just to the level of guests that are putting on and the standard of the events themselves. I'm sure I'm biased when I say that, and some people might disagree, but it's, I go to all events, a lot of different events, and yeah, for me, they're the best out there.
I think you're right. I think you guys need to set up shop in Dublin for an event sometime. I think we made it as far as Belfast. There's one coming up in Belfast, I think, is it August?
Yeah. So we did our
Right.
first one in Northern Ireland last year, and I mean, it went down absolute storm. I mean, the people over there, obviously, in the past, people have come over to like the Liverpool events or come over to the Manchester events. So yeah, the people in Northern Ireland were so proud to have a Monopoly events all of their own. They responded brilliantly. The weekend itself went phenomenally. Even just things like the after party. I mean, the after party sold out, and we love the after parties. It's a great time to meet all the people that attend there and locals. Also, the cosplay scene in Northern Ireland's really good as well. So yeah, we can't wait to get back there. And the lineup already, I mean, we've got like the Fratellis from Goonies, and they're just, we've got so many great people coming over to the Northern Ireland event this year, and that's how it always works. I mean, it was the first year last year. The lineup was good for a first year of a convention. It was fantastic, but this year you can already see, and obviously, I'm prey to sort of a few guests that haven't yet been announced. I mean, the lineup for this year in Northern Ireland is going to be absolutely outstanding. Really, really good for a second year. They've absolutely smashed it.
Yeah, yeah. And I know there's a couple of wrestling guests coming up in Northern Ireland as well. I was talking to one guy. I'm not sure if it's announced yet, so I'm not going to mention it on camera, but there'll be something there for everyone, let's just say.
Oh God, yeah, definitely. But I like to have live wrestling at all of the events now as well. That was something we started doing, probably maybe halfway through last year, and I think we started doing it in Edinburgh and and places like that, and we just realised that regardless of the convention, a lot of people who attend these conventions, it's just a lot of crossover with the fan base with wrestling. So we put on a few events last year where there was no wrestlers as guests there, but we still put on live wrestling.
Yeah.
And it goes down an absolute storm. I mean, people just love watching wrestling. I think it's just a good British, good British thing that people like to do.
Yeah, and of course you've amalgamated while we're talking about things as well, the For the Love of MMA with For the Love of Wrestling this year, which of course those two worlds are very closely connected as well. Was
Yeah, they
that
are.
something that you guys had initially planned? Like, how did that come together? Did it just seem like the right thing to do?
No, because we just thought about it. I mean, there was the weekend for Love MMA wasn't quite working out with some of the guests, and it was like, well, some of them could then do the other date, and we were like, well, that's the wrestling date, and then just sort of thought about it, sat back and thought about it, and the boss decided that actually we've probably got the space, at Bowlers to put on two conventions side by side, and the reason why it makes so much sense is two reasons. First of all, as you just mentioned, the crossover in fan base with MMA and wrestling is huge. I'm a big fan of both myself. Not only that, though, it also we're during a cost of living crisis. So rather than people having to pay for two entry fees, two lots of transport, two lots of hotels, now it's, because we know people that travel from all over Europe to come to these events. Wrestling specifically, we have people who come to this event from Canada, believe it or not, which is absolutely crazy when you think about it. And so now, during the, we know times are hard for people. Not only do you have to only have one hotel room, one mode of transport, you actually buy one entry ticket now and you get into both events. So that's something really important to mention as well. So if you've got a ticket for MMA or you've got a ticket for wrestling, that gets you into both sides and both conventions. So that's great for people as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Did you find that when you guys are trying to put things together, that there's a reluctance from some of the wrestlers or MMA people to travel at the moment? Because there seems to be a certain section of people that don't quite still want to travel and meet that many people. Have you found that?
No, you know what? This time last year, I'll be honest with you, we had an absolute nightmare getting people to the 2022 show, and we had a lineup ready, and we sort of. In about December, we had a lineup of maybe 20, 25 people who were all confirmed. And then as we got closer and closer to the show, more and more people dropped out. And I think about 8 weeks before For Love of Wrestling last year, we had 7 guests confirmed. And we were like, Jesus, what are we going to do here? So it took a lot of hard work from the booking team who just literally worked through the night sometimes on the phone to people in the States just trying to get it over the line. And we got really lucky because we've got some great agents that we work with, and our booking team is phenomenal. And we managed at sort of last minute to pick up guests like Sting and Bray Wyatt and people like that who
not bad, eh?
They were dream guests, for any convention. So to be able to get them last minute was perfect. There's still this. I won't name any names, but there's still people now who are reluctant to travel. Generally, it's people who are, a little bit more elderly, and I can completely understand that. But I'd say about 95% of people are cool with traveling now. And regardless of COVID or no COVID, I think a lot of people have taken it from a business aspect and said, well, everyone's still got to pay the mortgage payments at the end of the month. So people have got to work. And obviously, coming over here with it having such a huge wrestling fan base, Europe in general, you sort of think, UK being the biggest sort of fan base, maybe outside of North America, and then you've probably got Germany and Italy after that. So there's lots and lots of money to be made for the guys coming over here. So last year was very difficult. This year, 95% of people are happy to travel now.
Yeah, for people that might not know, then say you open 9 a.m. Saturday morning. What's the run? What's the running order from 9 a.m. Saturday morning till Sunday evening?
Yeah, so well, actually, it's a great point because what we're trying to do, where we're trying to get to with this, and I've attended conventions both here and in America. I'm long-suffering convention goer myself. And, you know,
Yeah.
when I go to conventions in the States, the general thing with conventions in the States is you'll go there, you'll queue up, you'll meet the guest, you'll get your picture, you'll go on your way, you'll do that 10 times, and then you'll go. And that's it. And those conventions are set up very much for that purpose of very quick meet and greets, and that's what they offer. FTLOW Wrestling, as it's grown, probably since its first show in 2019, trying to offer a lot more than that, which is why, you know, it's not just now about the meet and greets. We have so many other things going on over the weekend, and you know, the majority of them are included with the entry ticket anyway. But where we're trying to get to is almost like a festival weekend of wrestling, a celebration of wrestling, really. And this year, for the first ever time, we're extending to 3 days. So the convention itself will still be happening on a Saturday and the Sunday, but on a Friday night now, we're going to be showcasing the best of British talent as Progress Wrestling are putting on a live show. Our venue now, Progress are one of the best independent promotions out there at the moment.
Yeah, just been to Dubai too.
Yeah, they're absolutely fantastic. So they're putting on their show for us on the Friday night, which is called For the Love of Progress. So we can't wait for that, and that's a great opportunity for people to come down and meet like-minded wrestling fans, just having an absolute time of a cold beer and watch the best of British talent out there today. Then obviously Saturday we've got the convention. Then Saturday night we've got a huge after party, and then we've also got a Future Shock Wrestling, who are again one of the best independent promotions out there at the moment. They're going to be putting on another live wrestling show at our Saturday night after party. But the actual event itself, I mean, you know, people rock up whether they've got 9 early bird tickets or sort of 9 or 11 o'clock tickets. You can rock up, and all of the guests will be at their desks all day, signing autographs and meeting people. The only real times that they won't be at their desks is when they are off doing photo shoots, or when they're doing Q&A. So all our guests do Q&As, which happen in the middle of the wrestling ring throughout the weekend, and all those Q&As are included with the price of an entry ticket. So they'll be doing them there. So yeah, I mean, you know, if they're not doing pictures and if they're not doing their Q&A, if they're not off having a spot of lunch, they'll be at the desk, you know, meeting fans and, you know, taking selfies, signing whatever people like. And again, that's important to mention, because I know some weird things are coming out from some conventions. You know, people are more than happy. You know, if people want to come and get you know, one of the 8x10 prints that are on the desk signed, fantastic. If you want to bring your figures, your Funko Pops, your wrestling belts, your chairs, you know, whatever it is you want you signed, as long as it's reasonable, you can bring it and get it signed at our event. Which is cool as well. Yeah, and then so they'll be doing that. So yeah, it's great. And there's as I say, you know, people come to our event as well who don't even meet stars. So if you want to buy an entry ticket to our event, you want to come down, you want to look at the exhibits, you want to go around the market, you want to watch some live wrestling in the cinema, you want to sort of you want to do that, or you just want to sit down in front of the wrestling ring all day and watch all the Q&As and watch some of the biggest stars from past and present do interviews all day. You do that. That's entirely up to you. There's something for everybody at FTLOW Wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course you guys do like prop builds and stuff like that as well over there, don't you? What's coming up this year?
We've done prop builds in the past. What we do with them this year, we're sort of still trying to work that through at the moment. We're just about to start announcing our exhibitors for this year. So one of the things that we've always done from 2019 is we invite people with the biggest and best collections all across Europe to come and showcase at the event. So we're just about to start announcing them next week, which is going to be great. We've got all the traders to announce as well. And obviously nearer the event, we'll release the schedule as well, which you know, and it is literally like a timetable, which will tell you where every single guest is, what time the pictures are, what time the autographs are, and that allows people to completely organise their weekend. Well, I want to go meet Goldberg then, I want to go meet Big Show then I'm going to go and watch the Q&A with Ted DiBiase and IRS then. I'm going to need to meet Britt Breaker because she's doing a duo shot with Jamie Hayter then. So people like to plan to the last minute for this show, and we make sure we get that schedule out there with plenty of time for them to do that.
But there's always kind of an opportunity in the way you guys run it to meet everyone, if that's what you wanted to do as well, isn't it?
Yeah. If you want to get round and meet everybody, that's certainly possible. I mean, I would suggest having a diamond pass if you want to get round and meet every single guest, especially if you're there for one day. If you're there for both days, you'll get round everybody, no problem at all. We try and make sure everyone's in the same vicinity as each other, which helps with that. We try and make sure all the tag team, well, we always put the tag teams together, but we'll more than likely make sure that sort of the guys who've got a connection will be around each other as well. We like to present, you know, such a varied one as well. You know, some Some conventions concentrate on certain brands. Some conventions concentrate on certain periods. For Love of Wrestling, there is literally something for everybody. So if you're an old fart like myself, who still bangs on constantly about the golden era being the best period of wrestling, there's lots and lots for you to do there with, with the likes of IRS, with Ted DiBiase, with the Warlord, with Paul Roma, who we were discussing before, with the Barbarian and people like that. If you're more of an Attitude Era person, lots for you to do there. We've got, we've got the Dudley Boys there. Just speaking of one, we've got Carly to go. We've got Santino, those guys, people, DDP, Kevin Nash, Big Show, Goldberg, all those types of people attending. Or if you're someone that's completely, current wrestling fan, we've got the brightest and best people from AEW coming over. NXT stars like Adam Cole, who's now with AEW, Ruby Soho, many people will recognise from her AEW and WWE days. Also got Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, FTR, who I think are regarded as the greatest tag team in the world right now. They're going to be there as well. So yeah, it's an insane lineup, to be honest with you. But there is something for the wrestling fan, regardless of how picky you are, and which is your designated era. We've got something that's Love of Wrestling for you.
Yeah, here's an interesting one that I seen pop up on your Facebook page the other day. The WCW Heavyweight Champions, the 5 guys all together.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Goldberg, Big Show, DDP, Booker T.
I'm going to give myself a little Barry Horowitz pat on the back, because that was actually my idea. So I thought, you know what, that'd be a really cool photo opportunity. And I didn't really sort of clock on how well it'd been received. But yeah, people seem to have gone absolutely crazy for it. And I did sort of have a look around, spoke to a few people, done my old Google searches. I generally think this is a world first photograph opportunity. I don't think it's ever been done. And this is the sort of thing, people love that. And again, it's how we like to try and think differently than perhaps other conventions do, which we've done. Demolition, for instance. Demolition, for me, are one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Powers of Pain have never done a UK event, they said. So not only is it cool for us to reunite Powers of Pain over, but we've also got Demolition there. So why don't we do a duo shot with both of those tag teams, which, again, I don't think it's ever been done. Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker have just started working together on AEW, so let's get those two together for a duo photo. It's not just your standard convention. We like to really try and think outside the box. And I think the reason why we do that so well is because the people like myself, and Jason and Andy, who are Andy the boss, and obviously Jason, who's sort of my partner in crime. We're lifelong wrestling fans. We're not putting on a convention from a business perspective, and we're not putting on a wrestling convention from a convention organized perspective. We're putting a convention on that we as wrestling fans would like to attend. So that seems to, so far we've got through it so far, so it seems to be working okay.
Yeah, is there anyone on your bucket list, we'll say, obviously not for this year, if we're looking towards next year and a couple of years down the line, is there anyone that you really want to pinpoint in the future?
Yeah, do you know what? There's a few people. I mean, there's bucket list names, isn't there? I mean, like, obviously, we've had Taker over, so he was a bucket list one. Ric Flair, Bret Hart, we've had them over. I mean, there's bucket list people, like Hogan, like Austin. It would be great to get over. Shawn Michaels, another one. They'd be dream ones, but a lot of those guys just don't want to travel anymore. Austin and Hulk Hogan, for instance, they've not really got much interest in coming over here. They certainly don't need the money, and they're both not big fans of traveling in the first place. So they're a little bit more difficult. But for me, I think probably the dream ones is I'd like to get some really cool reunions together. I'd really like to bring over, like, Rick Martel doesn't do many of these, so if we could get maybe like Rick Martel and Tito Santana together, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
We've already started thinking about, wouldn't it be really cool to do we've got a little bit of a sort of accidental, I think at the first Love of Wrestling, we had a bit of an accidental sort of golden era reunion. We ended up with like Virgil and DiBiase and Brutus and Marty and a few other guys together, and Hacksaw. They all ended up together. And then like last year we ended up with like loads of the sort of the diva period. We had like Trish and Mickey and Candice and Mickey James and the people like that there. So we ended up with like a bit of a sort of divas era reunion. I'd like to think and this year obviously like the WCW champions sort of reunion as by accident. Next year I'd like to, I like things like that, me. So perhaps in the future, can we do something like that for the Attitude Era? And ECW, an ECW reunion, I think it'd be cool. I'm not sure if anybody's ever done that in the UK. So maybe start to think about, what's Raven up to? Where's Tommy Dreamer? Where's Sandman? Let's get Francine over. And let's try and have a little bit of fun with that, or, an Attitude Era or something. Stuff that you don't get is cool. And stuff that, like you saw with that WCW Champions photo, stuff that people really think cool, and some people will travel just for that. That's what normally works well.
Here's a random question. What's the funniest thing you've ever seen at a convention?
Oh God, what's the funniest thing I've ever seen?
Because it's full of characters. It's full of characters.
I'd probably say the funniest guests we've ever had over were New Age Outlaws. New Age Outlaws last year came, and you sort of know, you always know as a wrestling fan, the best characters and the most successful people in wrestling are always where they get to put a certain amount of themselves into the character. I mean, like Undertaker being a perfect example. I mean, Undertaker's gimmick was so successful because he gets to put so much of himself into that, and he is a little bit like that in real life as well. I've met him a few times, so that's why he was successful. The New Age Outlaws, when they're together, it is a bit like a constant DX sketch. They're constantly messing around. They're constantly, up to shenanigans and up to mischief and playing tricks on people and just generally having the time of their life. I mean, you watch sort of Billy and Road Dogg together, and they could be on a stag do because they're just having an absolute whale of a time, and they never stop laughing. And so when people are around them, they to meet them as sort of someone who attends a convention, it's amazing because you are meeting these larger than life personas, and they make every single person who meets them feel like they had this mega experience. So yeah, I'd probably say those two were the funniest because we just didn't stop laughing all weekend. They're an absolute joy to sort of be around.
Yeah. And can you, before we kind of wrap up here, just break down for people the kind of tickets, the day tickets, the weekend tickets, the diamond passes, all that kind of stuff, so people know kind of what's going down?
Yeah, so there's the main place to hit up, and obviously the main place to hit up is the Facebook page. That's where you're going to keep up to date on all of the information. That's where you'll find all the links to the necessary websites. So it's the main page is for the love of wrestling on Facebook. There's one Facebook page and there's one group. Obviously, the Facebook page is where is the more business led. The group is where obviously sort of people who attend our events can have a chance. If you don't do Facebook, don't worry. You can just jump straight onto our website, which is www.fortheloveofwrestling.co.uk, and you'll find all the necessary links to tickets there. But it is on all weekend, so you can just if you just want to come down on the Friday night and watch the wrestling show, just do that. If you want to come over the weekend, you can buy a weekend ticket and come to the convention both days. If you can only do one day, fine. We do Saturday and Sunday only tickets. If you just want to come to the after party, you can just come to the after party. We do tickets for that as well. But all of your ticket information is at fortheloveofwrestling.co.uk. And what you basically buy is you buy your entry ticket, and then you can buy separate tickets for autographs or pictures, depending on which particular wrestlers you want to meet.
Yeah. James, absolute pleasure talking to you today, man. And look, best of luck with it. I'm sure it'll be fine like all your other work.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for having us, Morris. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, sir.